Welcome to this video for round 6 of the candidates in London, and this video will be a bit shorter, just a bit shorter. I tried many times before to make them shorter, but this time it's simply due to an interesting new development. I'm going to travel to London on Saturday to watch 3 rounds live at the site. And frankly, I don't even have a suitcase. I just decided today to do that, book the flight, the hotel and so on. But I need to do some things to be properly prepared to travel on Saturday. So I'll do a coverage of this round, but it will be a bit quicker. Hopefully on Saturday I will have some nice on-site information available. I'll do a video from the hotel, but not quite sure. Let's see what's possible. Maybe I can do some video. I don't know. It is all very much a spontaneous decision today to do that. Alright, so let's check the games for today and start with Grischuk Gelfand. The probably on paper least interesting game because they both are on minus scores and probably won't win the tournament. We have a bishop b5, the Sicilian. Gelfand, for his preparation for the World Championship match, prepared this Sicilian with knight c6, leading to a Sveshnikov, but bishop b5 is played very often, and here it leads to a very closed position where white has got this bridgehead on e5, which means white's normal direction here will be towards the king, and we see that Grischuk sets up a position where he's got some pieces geared towards the king. He will play even c4 later to use his bishop a bit, but black has got very nicely centralized pieces. He certainly has got nothing to fear. This prepares c4. And here it comes. White, of course, needs this bishop on a1. If he wouldn't have played c4 himself, there's the danger that black might play c4 and kill this bishop. So it continued. White put some pieces in the vicinity of the king, but black has got a nice pawn formation on the queen side, and he's got 2 against 1 pawn, so this is strategically a nice asset for black, and white has got this possible attacking chances. However, just a couple of moves later we see here that Gelfand is attacking the e5 pawn. It cannot easily be taken, of course. If this pawn is gone, then this long diagonal really gets tricky. Grischuk now plays knight to d6, which at first sight looks very attractive. Entering with the knight, maybe go here, or maybe allow some sacrifices even. Well, on a very good day you can sacrifice on f7. But the problem with this move is it looks good, but it has a tactical drawback. Gelfand simply took the pawn now, and this is slightly embarrassing. The point is, after knight e5, there's this trick, and maybe this is what Grischuk underestimated or miscalculated in this line. Now the queen is hanging and the knight is hanging. This is of course not on, because mate is threatened, but this move knight f6 is simply strong, and at the end of all this, black has won a pawn and has got a clear advantage. It's got those 2 bishops in very strong positions, and look at this f1 bishop, and simply ridiculous piece. So black has a very clear advantage, and if you look, continue some moves. Now even this bishop is basically dead. You simply expect Gelfand to win this game. He's much ahead on the clock even, and extra pawn and everything is great. I mean, if I had black, I would expect to win against Grischuk even, because it looks simply overwhelming. But it's still a bit tricky. We'll see what happens. Rook to e8. This is good. Attacking, covering e5, and okay, the last reserves, so to say. f6, a good move. Rook e1, queen f7. So this is all fine. Yeah, now f5. This simply is the last try. White wants to swing over the rook here or here, and then maybe try to get at h6. Those bishops are a bit away from the king side, but it's not really a serious attack. Still, let's see what happens. So exactly as described, this bishop is going for the h6 pawn. The thing is there a threat? And the answer is no. Gelfand here could have simply taken on a2, and basically that's it. There's no attack coming. White cannot sacrifice. If you look at this is maybe the move that you fear with bishop h6. Black can go, oops, rook to h8, and now bishop h6 is very simply bad. You don't lose this instantly, but White is in a self-pin, and he has no moves basically. It's a rather easy win. And I really don't see what White is doing. He maybe thought he would win anyway, but without taking here. By now, this was 2 minutes against 2 minutes. Somehow Gelfand burned quite some time before. He had a big time advantage. He played this move. It still keeps the advantage, but rook a2 probably would have killed this. Well, now this is at least covered for the moment. He played a somewhat passive setup, which somehow should be enough, but the other thing was winning outright. Yeah, e4, difficult to play with just a couple of seconds on the clock. And queen h4. This is the idea. Black took. And bishop h5 now. Yeah, this is all good. Yeah, rook d3. And we can still have a look. Black is still a pawn up. And White has got some weak pawns and not the greatest king. So still, this should be quite an advantage for Gelfand. But let's see, queen e5, queen g4. He's playing. Yeah, he's committing a mistake now. With hindsight, you see that instead of this, he could have played bishop d6, activating this piece, and simply ignoring this g6 square. There is no threat. White can give this check, for example, but he doesn't really have a continuation here that troubles black. Let's say queen h5, just for argument's sake. There's a move like this, attacking c4, attacking the rook, and White has no decent answer to that. Cannot go here, for example, as this is of course the main issue. Yeah, the problem is simply what he did is not enough. He played bishop e8, and now there's bishop g6 coming. Have a look at this. Now White is really active, and he's got those sacrifice ideas on h6. Black basically doesn't have any other move than moving this bishop, and now there's bishop h6, and it's by now clear that White has very good counterplay, and in fact they agreed a draw shortly afterwards, because Gelfand now gave these checks and it's basically perpetual. White cannot get out of this. So Gelfand had a real big chance here to win the game, and yeah, somewhat sad. He really outplayed Grischuk, but simply around here he played not courageous enough. Rook takes a2 seems to win. He, for some reason, didn't want to play this move. Usually there's some concrete miscalculation involved, but this probably would have won this game. Okay, so the next game, let's have a look at Radjabov against Aronian. We have Ruy Lopez. Aronian is very consistent. He plays e5 all the time. Sometimes he plays stuff like d6 or g6 against weaker opponents, like 2600s in the Bundesliga in Germany. But it doesn't happen against those top guys. He plays e5 all the time. Okay, we've got a Berlin with d3 and c3. We saw this before in this game of Carlsen with white against Grischuk. Here it is slightly different because Radjabov doesn't take on c6, which after those moves leads to a pretty standard Ruy Lopez position, which easily could have been on the board from a different move order with an early a6 b5 line. This so-called it has got a ton of names, Neo-Angelsk or Tkachiev variation with a6 b5 and bishop c5. Okay, it's a d3 c3 setup, so it's always this kind of slow maneuvering game. Have a couple of exchanges, and Aronian managed to play d5. And this is really a rule of thumb in all kinds of e4, e5 position. If black manages to play d5 and white cannot punish this immediately, then black has equalized. And this is, I think, the case here. I don't really see what white is aspiring to in this position. It's simply around equal. What white can try to do is to put something on f5, and this is what he's doing. Something means a knight, of course. This is basically the only idea that white has in this position, and frankly speaking, that's not much. I must say that I'm a little bit of biased in these positions because I play e5 as black against e4 for years, and I always ask myself, well, what the hell is white doing here? And isn't it like nothing? And yeah, this is simply my way of seeing this position. I don't think that white has got even the slightest hint of anything, because well, look at this. I mean, all pieces are fine, and white only has got this little little bit of something on f5. Okay, he continued with all this, and now with g5, it at first looks a bit scary. We've got those knights here, but there's no real attack, simply because the queen is not involved, and you cannot really mate black or get serious attack without the queen. He tries to use the g file here, but take into account that black has the slightly better structure. He's got this pawn island and this, while white has this double pawn, which is not a big issue at the moment, of course, but it can be later. And he's got a slightly compromised pawn structure on the king side, so black is probably slightly more comfortable, but it's not match. They when Carlsen was in the commentators room, and he was asked about this position, and he thought, okay, yeah, Levon is slightly better, is what he said. Okay, and and it continued for a while, and yeah, quite funny discovery here, but black can simply cover it. Note that Radjabov is a little bit of time trouble, but he managed to make the required moves in time. Frankly, there is not so much happening. Black still enjoys the slightly better structure. This rook and knight always attack e4, but it doesn't really look like much. However, it of course continued. Aronian played on. He simply doesn't risk much in this position. And we see that Radjabov again has got time problems. He used lots of time. Yeah, we're nearing the critical position. So, have a look at this. What is black doing? He's attacking this pawn. And yeah, now queen e1, trying to exchange the queen. Yeah, of course, if black now takes on e4, it gets very embarrassing. So of course this didn't happen. He just went to a4, and now knight takes e5. Radjabov was down to what? Let's check it. 1 minute 25. It's not really comfortable. 8 moves in 1.5 minutes. Yeah, this is really the clock plays a very important role in this tournament, the time management. Yeah, knight e5. The problem is, well, queen takes, and what now? This knight is hanging, and white cannot move the king. I mean, where? Let's say here. Just grab it, and there's the king on f6 covering the queen, and yeah, this is just material down for nothing. You can try to continue this line like this, but this is a disaster. This pawn gets lost, and then black simply wins in the end game. So what did Radjabov do? He retreated the knight f4 and resigns. So a very sudden end to this, which is really also due to the fact that Radjabov spent really lots of time in this position. The thing is that this is simply also uncomfortable to play. You're sort of uncoordinated with your loose pawns and all those weaknesses. So it's clear that black is slightly better at least, but the time management really killed him in this game. So Aronian, another win with black, and a very important step in this tournament. +3 already is quite something. Okay, let's look at Svidler Carlsen next. Svidler with +1, good tournament. He scored a very good position yesterday against Gelfand. And Carlsen, yeah, well, we know he's in a very comfortable shape, +2. And now let's see what happens. Again, the Rui. Carlsen plays e5 most of the times against 1e4, and now here he's going for the classical main line, not the Berlin this time. But Svidler plays d3, which is one of those countless anti-martial lines. The traditional main line, of course, is rook e1, and now this is the martial idea with d5. In fact, Carlsen doesn't really play the martial. He usually goes for the Briar, one of those big main lines of the Rui. Okay, but Svidler went for d3, which is one of those, as mentioned, d3, c3, and so on lines. a4. Yeah, here a bit surprisingly maybe Carlsen went for b4. Not that it is a bad move, it is not, of course, But one point of this move order for black, this d6 and so on, is to play bishop d7. This is the move I play myself in this position, so I was slightly surprised to see b4 played. It's not a big thing. b4 is fine, but this is what is normally played. b4. Yeah. At first it looks a bit strange because you give away this square, so white can play maneuvers like this, but it's really not that important. We see what happens in the game. It's all very logical. Bishop e6, yeah, very often you want to put the bishop there, exchange it on b3, but white prevents it with knight c4. Rook b8 now, and c3. Yeah, white plays c3, intending in the long run to play d4. It is in general a bit difficult to give the white game, to give it some sort of point, because, well, you're not putting much pressure on black with this pawn chain here. This is why he went c3, to get some play in the center. Of course you can play all kinds of slow setups like a rook e1 or something, but okay, this was Svidler's point. And now h6, very normal. Knight g5 can be annoying, so you go h6, rook e1 and queen c8. This is also a good maneuver and known maneuver. It allows rook d8 with d5 coming maybe, and gets out of the d file where maybe sometimes the white rook might appear. So it's a good multi-purpose move. Bishop c2. Yeah, here at first sight you would think that this maybe is an idea, but Carlsen didn't go for that. The problem with this is it looks good at first because it's an isolated double pawn for white, but how does black attack it? It's not easy. You don't actually have a single piece that can attack this pawn, and you weaken the light squares enormously. White has got these ideas. I don't think this is really a good option to take. Carlsen went for something else. He played rook d8, which is, I think, just better, intending d5. Queen e2, bishop f8. It's better on f8 simply compared to e7. Knight e3, and now d5. So, as mentioned already in the Aronian game, if black manages to play d5 and he's not punished for that, he's normally okay, and this is, I think, the case here as well. Black certainly should have equalized, and the way it progressed now, black even has a little bit more than equality. Probably white should have played something else here before. Here, of course, knight e3 is not the only move. What's clear is if you look at this, we've got those exchanges. h3 now, it's a bit of a prophylactic move. Bishop g4 was a bit of a problem. Yeah, the question is what else should white do? Maybe you can consider tactical sequences here, like bishop to a4 or d4. Maybe d4. Let's say takes, and this one going for mate. g6, bishop a4. Yeah, some tactical line to keep the position around equal. Once black has played this d5, it's simply that white needs to be cautious. I mean, a5 is hanging this rook here. It's not very comfortable already. Okay, he went for h3, bishop f5, and rook d1. Slightly passive, but yeah, what can you do? Queen e6. And this is, in a way, a typical Carlsen game. He puts his pieces in the center or in good positions, and somehow the other side just goes down. I mean, it's really amazing how quickly this sometimes is happening. Svidler now plays bishop b1. Queen to d7, attacking the pawn. Bishop e3 and e4. Yeah, it's all very logical. It's not difficult really to sometimes see the moves that he's playing, but it all works so nicely together. Yeah, white now plays knight to d4. What can you do? Cannot capture here. The rook was the problem. So knight d4, knight takes, and in this position c takes d4 is the alternative, and maybe the better move. From a, let's say, mathematical perspective, as this is not instantly losing, but it's really a really ugly position. Have a look at this. I mean, this is just great for black, and he's got those rooks attacking the pawn. You have bishop d6 covering your only slight weakness, and white has got a rather bad structure against such a brilliant technical player as Carlsen. This is just a torture. This is, I think, simply why Svidler went here. The fun point is here Carlsen just took on d3, and here there was also a computer possibility, the sacrifice. This is really working amazingly. The point is takes, rook g5, g3. Yeah, it was hanging here, and now okay, f3, and at this point you maybe stop with your calculation, because, well, what is this bishop doing? If you retreat, let's say here, then it's not clear what is happening. Something like this is even playable, maybe. It's not an outright win, but what black can do is he has got this hammer blow here, rook b2, queen takes, just a rook sack here, and this is in fact winning. There's this threat and queen h3, and it's not defensible, simply a win, as also this is hanging. Yeah, okay, Carlsen didn't do that, and in the press conference when they asked both players, it seems they didn't really consider this. But what Carlsen saw is as usual. It's simple and good. He took on d3, exchanged here, and played c5. At first you think, oh wait, this is winning a piece, right? It's not. White has got this little trick, and this is what Svidler hoped for. But have a look at this. I think exactly this position is what Carlsen saw, and probably a couple of moves ahead, of course. But if you look at this, you simply recognize that black is just much better. He's got the active rook. This is a weakness. This is a weakness. And actually they can be attacked. Black's pawns cannot so easily be attacked. And black has got rook d2, bishop c5. While this is a little bit of a stranded piece on b8, and the rook is not playing on a1. So it's not great. And a couple of moves later, here, Svidler now tried for something that is that really is not working, but he certainly was pretty much disgusted with his position already, and he's down to 7 minutes. He played queen to h5, and well, this at least has got a threat, and let's say black does nothing much here. What can he do? Let's say he would play rook d2, yeah. Then you can treat this as a puzzle. White to win, and in fact there are two ways to do so. If you want, you can pause the video. The flashy way to do it is this move with a mate. I think I would do that given the chance, but there's also this mate, which is even quicker but not so nice. So there are some tricks now, but Carlsen invested a couple of minutes and came up with queen e4. Simple and good. This of course prevents queen f5, and it also prevents this idea because of queen h7, and that's it. I mean, white can snatch this pawn, but now is out of bullets, nothing to do. just an extra rook for black and an easy win. So this prevents all kinds of checks and trickery, and at the end what is there? Yeah, lots of problems. If let's say white plays some move, let's say rook e8, yeah, just for example, to show the threat, then black can simply take here. This will mate white, and this is the big threat here. White has simply no way to address this besides the move that he played. He played rook b2, covering f2, but now there's rook d5, covering the bishop, pinning the bishop, and yeah, white has no real way to cover that. He can go rook e2, which he did, queen b1 check, king h2, f6, and that's it. This bishop is gone. Isn't chess a simple game? We all can play like him, right? Yeah, it's sometimes amazing. It's from out of nothing, there's a good position out of the opening, and then it goes simply downhill so quickly against the best players of the world. It's hard to explain sometimes. And frankly, I didn't have the time to analyze in detail where Svidler went wrong here, because this is certainly comfortable for black, but he shouldn't be winning in like 16 moves after that. Yeah, very important win for Carlsen, obviously. +3, and this is done with 4 blacks. Yeah, he had 4 blacks up to now, so a very good position in the tournament. Okay, last game is Kramnik Ivanchuk, and as usual my idea to make a shorter video failed miserably. Already on 31 minutes or 32 minutes. Yeah, well, Kramnik Ivanchuk, especially if you now take into account that Carlsen and Aronian won again, so they are on +3, leading with 4.5 points. Kramnik, who only played draws up to now, needs to win. I mean, everything else is not acceptable in this game. It's not that he's playing badly, actually. He played, I think, a really good game against Aronian, and was so close to winning, but it didn't manage. It doesn't help if you play great, but you don't score goals, so to say. Okay, we have a Catalan here, a rare line with this check on b4. Yeah, not rare. Rare is this move, bishop d6. Bishop e7 has been played, yeah, thousands of times. Bishop d6 is only caught on recently. The idea is to set up exactly as Ivanchuk did here, in this way, a little bit like in the semi-Slav, intending to play e5 at some point, or capture and then e5. Yeah, the problem is a bit for white now in this position. What are you doing about this pawn on c4? You don't have a natural move to cover it, as the bishop is somewhat in the way on d2. If the bishop would be still on c1, there would be moves like knight to d2 and e4, but the bishop is on d2, and this is why black inserted this check. This bishop is not really well placed on d2. Yeah, Kramnik decided on an aggressive approach. He just sacrificed this pawn, and black, I think, also needs to take now. If he plays some normal move, let's say queen here, there's e4, and with this threat we get this transformation in the center, where white has a very convenient advantage. Quite some extra space, good pieces, and there's still this very bad bishop on c8. This is why black wants to play e5, of course, get this bishop into play. This means that normal moves don't do it. Black must take, so he took on c4, and now rook d1. This is good. Rook d1 is designed to work against e5. If black now would go e5, which is the planned move, of course it looks quite suspicious at first, and it is suspicious. If black faces this now, knight e5 in fact loses to bishop f4. This is simply a deadly pin. And this also doesn't help. leading to a win for white. Just 2 pieces for the rook and a brilliant position. All pieces are fine. So e5 is not on. Black must prepare this. He played queen to c7 to prepare e5 and get the queen out of the d-file. An alternative here was the sharp move b5, but this is very risky. One point being knight g5, attacking this pawn and this pawn. I mean, I'm threatening to take on b5 because there's the pin. If black now plays queen b6, this is an interesting line that I'd like to show. White has a very strong continuation here, the move b3. This is the point. Here white has sacrificed a pawn, but he's got excellent compensation. One point, for example, is if black now plays the very normal looking move bishop b7, there's this coming. Yeah, threatening on h7, and this is not all of it. There's also this trick. Look at black's queen. It gets embarrassing now. Queen needs to go to a6, and this simply picks up the queen for a couple of pieces. But white still has the attack going even, so it's a complete disaster. b5 is simply too risky in this position. Ivanchuk played much better, queen c7. In fact, I think this is an excellent game. Both sides played really well here. Okay, knight g5, intending something to e4 to pick up the pawn on c4, and Ivanchuk played bishop e7, getting out of this knight e4 with the tempo. a4 and e5. This was the idea. Black has played for this advance all the time to get the c8 bishop into play. And now Kramnik plays a5. It's a very, very interesting concept. He simply lets this pawn en prise. Black can take it, and simply black doesn't really have anything else. He took it on d4, and now bishop f4. This was the whole point, attacking the queen. And yeah, this looks really, really bad. So black must go bishop d6, and now rook d4. This was the whole point of this a5 idea. White has got the active rook now on the 4th rank. And now I think Ivanchuk plays in the most principled way and the best way. If you now as black simply give away your c4 pawn that you won, then you're worse. It's as simple as that. If you play some nothing move now, let's say I don't know, let's say a6, yeah, white just takes here and plays this kind of game on the queen side. Later maybe e4, f4. It's just not nice. Ivanchuk played much better. He played h6, knight back, and b5. Simply the principled way, keep the pawn. And white now must take also on b6. There's nothing else. Knight d4, black can play a6, and you return the pawn. Something like this here leads to nothing. I would even start to prefer black here. You've got your pieces all out, and you've got 2 against 1. Against this one, not b1. So white takes. This is better. You need to damage the pawn structure. And knight to b6. Yeah, and here in this position, white can consider other moves than the one that Kramnik played. But Kramnik went for the exchange sacrifice. And this is simply, it's the most obvious move in the position. And it's probably also maybe the best. The thing is, it's not clear what this rook is doing on the 4th rank if you cannot sacrifice it on f6. White can play, let's say here, but look at this. Where's this rook going? It can go to h4, but what exactly it is doing on h4 is not clear. So it's really a moot point. White needs to sack here. It's just the right move. Okay, takes. And knight d4, centralizing the knight, and white's compensation is simply based on the fact that Black has no pawn structure now. It's just lots of split pawns, isolated pawns, and lots of weaknesses. So I think it's really easy to see that White has a great compensation. The question is it enough? Ivanchuk played bishop d7, which is the best move. It covers c6, and now Kramnik goes queen d2, which is okay. He had alternatives though. The most important being rook a5, and I think maybe this was the better practical decision, due to the fact that Ivanchuk, as we know by now, is notoriously always in time trouble. He's down to 10 minutes for 20 moves, and I think rook a5 would have been the more, yeah, maybe trickier to play with little time. There are some obvious, relatively obvious points. If Black, for instance, plays knight to d5, White can go here, and now Black is not able to take on a5. I mean, he can, but it's not ending nicely. And there's unavoidable mate now. Quite nice, this queen g6 idea. Always need to take that into account. Okay, this is the easy line. What Black, however, can do is he needs to use this rook here, and rook a8 is a strong move, intending rook e5. I think this is easy to see for a player of Ivanchuk's class. But White now can play all kinds of attacking ideas, which are dangerous. He can go rook h5, for instance, king g7, and now bishop c6. This is one possibility. Black now it cannot take. This now leads to checkmate. Very cute line, and it's completely forced. It's a mate. Yeah, and White has a really good attack here. The thing is, and this is the important difference to the game, but of course it's super difficult to assess this. White can here, he can attack without being forced to go for a perpetual, or somehow he hasn't burnt all his bridges in this position. You can play on this position without being under such huge pressure to get something concretely in a very short order. In the game, you will see the difference. Played queen d2, king g7, and now he took on c6, which after takes, check, king. Now White is a whole rook down, and he needs to justify that. This is in fact the best play by both sides. So it's really really fine what they played. Now here it's a rook down, and White didn't have much of a choice here. Instead of taking, you can still consider rook a5, but in comparison, the immediate rook a5 would have been better, of course. Okay, takes. Have a look at this. One point is, of course, from a practical point of view, what Kramnik did here, he's got a draw in the back. White can draw here with knight h4 check, king back, and it's a perpetual. Black needs to go here, and we can repeat moves. Of course, Kramnik didn't want to do that. In fact, here there's queen takes h6 as a possibility, this kind of stuff. But after king g6, White needs to force the perpetual again. There's nothing else. So, is it a draw? Well, a draw is not enough for Kramnik. He played rook a5, and this is risky. But okay, a draw won't do. So he continued with the rook down, still attacking, but he's got much more time, of course. queen d4 with, oops, this idea, mate on g7, so rook g8 is all forced, and rook c5. And yeah, rook c5 is just activating this piece, putting this bishop in a pin, so moves like knight e4 are on the agenda. And Ivanchuk played great, yeah? With 4 minutes on the clock. Queen d7, it's just good, attacking the queen, so needs to react to f4, and now h5, covering the g4 square. And this is the critical position now. Kramnik now spent almost all of his time trying to find something, and he simply he didn't find a way to continue this attack. It's simply a rook down. This is the problem. You cannot really play some slow move that strengthens your position. You don't have the time for that with the rook down. Let's say f3. This was a suggestion from the commentators. Then there's rook e8. I mean, now rook e6 or rook e5 are defensive ideas. It's not enough. A rook is a rook. So at the end, Kramnik settled for this check, and here he gave those checks to make a perpetual. In fact, here, if you look at the clock, here Ivanchuk is given with a minute. He had a little bit more time, not much, a little bit more. In fact, here Ivanchuk could have played king f8. It's not losing. It's only like, if you look at this, it's a logical continuation. It's yeah, it's a position where black's king is dodging bullets all the time. It's like walking into a crossfire. Queen, knight, rook. It's simply super risky. I mean, those rooks are not helping at the moment. The computer likes black. It gives black an advantage of, let's say, a pawn or slightly more. But look at this, it's a rook, yeah? So white has excellent compensation for this, especially in a practical game. The big thing is Ivanchuk was on slightly more than a minute, and he would have never been able to defend this position in this time. Simply not possible. So he simply agreed to this perpetual, and they made a draw. So a very disappointing end for Kramnik. I think he played a great game. I mean, what can you say? He tried everything that there is with an exchange sack, and it was a bit unlucky in a way that here he had no way at all to continue. I think he would have risked quite a lot to try to continue here, because he was aware that a draw is not enough. But okay, he needed to take the draw at the end. It's also no use to lose, of course. If you would have lost the game, it's simply over for this tournament. He cannot come back from -1, catching someone 2 points ahead. So okay, after this round we have Carlsen and Aronian leading with 3 wins, no losses. Great result. They are both close to 3,000 performance rating, and they are leading with 1.5 points ahead of Kramnik and Svidler. They both have 50%. So you can already argue that Kramnik or Aronian will make it. It's very difficult to see a scenario where Kramnik or Svidler would catch them. Everybody else is completely out of it. From minus score, you cannot come back. It's not possible. It will be very important to see if the first couple of games, now the next 2-3 rounds, if Kramnik and Svidler are not managing to win, then one of those, Aronian and Carlsen, will make it. It's also maybe the most I think if you think about it, what kind of world championship match do you want to see? You really want to see I don't know, Grischuk playing or someone. I mean, really everything else besides Carlsen and Aronian would seem a bit strange. Kramnik, of course. I've always been a fan of his play, but he had the title for a couple of years, and he lost this match against Aronian a couple of years ago. So nobody, I think, would mind if Carlsen or Aronian would get a match. It would be very interesting to watch. So let's see what happens. Okay, I'll be back on Saturday, hopefully, from some hotel in London, and maybe I even have some video coverage of the event, at least some pictures. I'm not quite sure. It's not really planned. I mean, a couple of hours ago I didn't even know I would go. So let's see. I hope it all works out fine. Okay, so I'll be back on Saturday. Till then, bye.